Right, sorry, I need to stretch. It's time to talk about what I promised weeks and weeks ago. I sort of hinted that after talking about the Gran Turismo stuff, that wasn't my favourite car game. And I said it would be next week, but then I didn't get the video out in time, and then, you know, everything happened with Owen and being away, so it's now having to happen in this little block instead. So, may I present to your delectations, in my opinion, well, mainly because it was the first game I think I ever got, PS1 / PS2, because I didn't buy it in time for the PS1. But the very first game I ever got, Colin McRae Rally. This is the actual copy. I've peeled off the price tag, just because I like the box art rather than have a garish sticker all over the front of it. But I think it was about £10 when I bought it brand new. It was brand new because it was wrapped in plastic and everything, but it just had the stickers on and everything underneath, so it couldn't have been brand new. Whatever, it was certainly new because there was no scratches on it. I guess they just didn't have any plastic in them because reasons. But this, even now, is still a crap load of fun. So the reason why it was good is because it was those developers that you see there. It was Codemasters. Back when Codemasters really were significant. I mean, okay, they're doing pretty good driving games still now with Dirt, which is sort of what spun off from this after the passing of Colin McRae. You know, they decided to remove the McRae name with his passing a few years back and just stick with the Dirt name. But then they also did the Grid series, still to this day, that's going well. And then you've got sort of, I think it was Toy Box Turbos came out recently, and F1 Race Stars, which are more kidified. Admittedly, Toy Box Turbos is more of a Mario Kart, except it's not on a Nintendo console. But yeah, this, way back in 1998, was a pretty damn good game. Best fact of the matter was, in order to actually unlock the expert mode, you had to go through what they quoted as driving school. And you had, you know, if you didn't pass, you wouldn't get access to the hard mode, which would basically give you sort of the full experience. Because I think if you went on novice mode, you were only locked to the sort of novice cars, which was basically the second tier in rallying at that time. And it was you only did like half the stages, including none of the super specials, because I'll get to it in a minute. Because if you did it in normal intermediate mode, you had, I think, all 8 rounds that were in the game, which were, because I can't remember off the top of my head, and I should have brought it up on my tablet beforehand. It started off in, I think, I'm trying to not get New Zealand and Australia confused, because both were in the game, but I can't remember in what order they were in the game. Let's see if I can find it. No, I don't want it on Steam. 1, because I already just bought it, and 2, because it's not that. It's okay, but it's thank God I bought it for 80% off. Just saying. So yeah, just looking. Does it even say? So it had New Zealand, the Acropolis in Greece, Australia, Monte Carlo, Sweden, Corsica, and the UK, which were sort of official stages for rally races. And then you also had Indonesia, which was included in the game because they were supposed to be racing there during the 1998 season of the World Rally Games, but apparently it got called off due to civil unrest. But the key thing to note is none of the stages were accurate representations of stages people actually drove on. They were basically just stages that they designed themselves and whatever. But it really just was beautiful the way it controlled. It felt like a rally car, which admittedly you probably wouldn't have had it, and Codemasters have admitted themselves you probably wouldn't have had this without Sega Rally. But I never had a Sega console, so I never played it. But apparently they also were influenced by Screamer Rally on the PC and Wave Race 64. But I can see Sega Rally being more of an inspiration because it's a rallying game. But you had that aspect. Then you had the cars. You had the, as I say, there's like the second tier cars and the top tier cars. And then if you did really well in expert mode, you unlocked classic cars. So you had the Ford Escort Mark II, the Lancia Integrale, the Ford RS 2000, and the Audi Quattro. Basically, cars that are iconic with the history of rallying over like the 70s, and certainly with your turbos like the Ford and the Audi, or the Ford RS 2000 and the Audi Quattro, the turbo era, when cars just went as fast as basically you wanted them to. Some of the stuff there was absolutely crazy. The real reason, though, why I think it still has a legacy that lives on today is why I need to go to GameFAQs. Because, hang on, Colin McRae, Colin McRae GameFAQs. Let's just go there. The cheat. My God, the cheat. Oh, so as you'd expect, there were passwords to give you, to allow you to unlock all the tracks or unlock all the cars and whatever. Little things like better acceleration, things like that. Why the hell is there an England mode? I don't even know what that is. Unless it's supposed to be raining in all stages because they're being stereotypical. I don't know. But some of the cheats disable collision detection, turn your car into a green jello car, and it actually sort of wobbled when you went with the directions. It wasn't just stick a skin on, it actually sort of had physics of its own, sort of. You had low gravity, which was really interesting if you used the kit car cheat. Kit car, what it did, it was basically sort of the equivalent of kit, sort of from Knight Rider. If you pressed the button, which was the select button on the PS1 controller, you basically jumped in the air. You combine that with low gravity, holy crap, damn, that was awesome. Then you had the one bit which was sort of, it's not even listed here from what I can tell, even as sort of a weird cheat. So, I mean, also another thing, there was also a hovercraft mode. And the thing is, again, like with sort of the Jello car, except this time actually more on the gameplay. In hovercraft mode, with the wheels basically folding up, it did actually steer differently than it would standard, because it obviously isn't the same sort of traction. It's just, it's weird like that. It was really good. You could have it turn to you could have the voices turn to chipmunk mode. So basically, as he's doing the countdown at the start, instead of just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! 4 right and 3 left. Basically, it was just sped up and just fun. That's the thing. Fun. It's what it's all about. But the best one, and this is sort of the hidden thing, if you turned on night mode, on certain what it is, in certain bits, there were sort of runoff areas which were sort of separate to the actual track that you were supposed to be on. You know, like let's say it's like a crossroads, and there's a little bit off to the side, which is, you know, if it's on a straight, there's a little bit here, there's a little bit off to the side, where it's basically sort of, if it was in real life, it'd be like that's where the cars park up when they're packed up or, you know, breaking down. In certain spots on certain rallies, or certain spots in certain stages of certain rallies, if you stop there with the night mode turned on, the car basically got taken by aliens and it just goes up. And then it basically sort of resets you on the track. Weird, but again, it's just sort of a thing. That's a thing clearly not many people know about, because it doesn't even seem to be listed here on GameFAQs. But I know it exists because I've got other cheat books that say it happens, and I've done it myself, and it's just fun. That's the key thing. Games back here, they didn't have to be crazy. They just had to be good and fun, and Colin McRae Rally was. In essence, I can't say 2 is the better one, because, you know, I will still love this one with all my heart because it was my first, and, you know, I'm fond of it. But the second one, in terms of its cheats, went even crazier, because they added sort of like a four-player pursuit thing. I don't think it might have been multiplayer. But certainly the idea was you race against 3 AI computers-controlled opponents at the same time. But there was a cheat. I think you had to put in great balls of fire. I can't remember entirely off the top of my head. But if you did that, if you pressed the handbrake button, which I think was circle, you fired a fireball somehow out of your car. Again, nonsensical. Thing is, if it collided with a car, the car just basically flew into the air, sort of Mad Max crash style. It was like, boom, and just so much fun. That's all that needs to be said. That is why it's my favourite racing game of all. Yeah, I would say of all times. Although clearly, you know, I have a soft spot for things like Gran Turismo 4, despite the fact I still haven't completed it because I've got way too many other things to do. You know, Colin McRae Rally. If anything, the way that this game performed, okay, sort of without the cheats, but in terms of feel and gameplay, if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have had the WRC games, or at least the first 3 or 4, when it was simulation sort of style, but also still felt like fun but then also the fact that you, in some aspects, you were sort of racing on some of the stages. And it was weird with that because that was, I think, Sony. I think it was a Sony studio that did it, or it was certainly only on Sony consoles, at least the first 3 or 4 games. I think Rally Evolved, which is technically the 5th one, came out. There's been one since, but it's from a different studio, I think, and they aren't as good as those original ones. No, the heyday of, I mean, admittedly, Colin McRae 3 was not too bad. 4 was very good. Then it went into the Dirt series and all that. Admittedly, at the same time, you did also have Tonka touring cars, which I think was called like Stock Car Racing when it was released in America. I'm not entirely sure. That's pretty good, but that's more of a simulation in the sense of you actually driving around circuits in championships. But that took an interesting twist when it went to the Race Driver series, which ran for 3 games. One being a weird sort of Hollywood story, the second being an actual sort of The second being an actual sort of more true to what a racing driver would do, and I think the third was similar in that sense as well. But it wouldn't have happened, in all honesty, had it not been for this. This game is the reason why you've got the Codemasters racing games that you have today. It's the legacy of the original Colin McRae Rally from 17 years ago that is why we've had it. So, I know they're pretty local to me, relatively, but yeah, thanks Codemasters. Okay, some of your games since have been less good, but I still cherish the days that I can still turn on my PS2, play this, play Toca Touring Cars, or Toca 2, or Toca World, or Colin McRae Rally 2, my PS1 games basically, from the Codemasters racing stuff, and go, I want to have some fun.